Hi, my name is Brian Roach. I'm an account executive with Confluent in Colorado. One of the most exciting use cases that I've learned so far is around SIEM modernization and starting to realize that SIEM has changed. Some of the trends that we're seeing in the industry: a growing amount of data as well as many different types of data. Internet of Things has a big thing to do with this as well, and lots of different endpoints that are creating more data for us to consume. We have a growing amount of cyber attacks against enterprises, and real-time analytics are needed across the board. So let's now take a look at the traditional approaches and architectures for SIEM and what that looks like. From an infrastructure perspective, we have servers, storage, and networking. On top of that infrastructure, we run our applications. Applications have their own application logs that are sent over and data points, as well as databases, data warehouse, and middleware that you have to think about. And then finally, you have the security team. And we have firewalls, proxies, Active Directory, intrusion detection, intrusion prevention technologies. And all of these systems are data sources. And the traditional approach has been to put a SIEM connector in front of each of these data sources and then pool them into a central place that you can then do forensics on. There's challenges with this approach, though. Once the data is in here, it's locked. So if you're using QRadar or Splunk or ArcSight, you're really tied to the capabilities of their tool. Two, it's very expensive. So you need to figure out correlation a lot of times against, hey, who in my Active Directory was accessing this application and what server was it running on? If you need to have all that data across the board, there's going to be a lot of data points that are put into this system here, and you pay for ingested data, maybe some low-value data that you don't care about. So at the end of the day, the low-value data costs just as much as the high-value data that you're looking for. And then finally, your team is really limited on innovation because you're really just using the capabilities of your SIEM provider. If there's new capabilities that come out from another provider, you can't use this data, it's stuck here. So what is Confluent doing with Kafka to free up this data? We're taking a similar approach where we're putting connectors in front of all of these data sources and ingesting them into a single place. We call that our Confluent platform. And this platform is built on top of Kafka, an open source technology from the Apache Foundation. The founders of Kafka were actually the ones that developed, founders of Confluent were the ones that developed Kafka 10 years ago when they were at LinkedIn. Once the data is in here, we then have the ability to send it off to KSQL DB. KSQL DB then gives you the ability to transform, aggregate, join, and filter. And then you can take those data sources, do filter, aggregate, transform, or filter them, and send them back into the Kafka platform built on Confluent. And that gives you the ability to then send that data to any source. So if you were using QRadar before or Splunk before, you can then send that to them your team can continue using that same technology. Or if you wanted to migrate off of Splunk to a different technology, like maybe QRadar, you could do that too. Or if you wanted to send it off and you wanted to create a data lake with S3, you could then send it all there and store it, and have it send it to this really cheap, inexpensive storage. Ultimately, this approach and all these, the ability of freeing up this data is going to help your team with innovation and hopefully keep you ahead of those threats that are out there. Some of the benefits of this new approach: vendor agnostic. So really, you're putting this in front of proprietary tools and giving you the ability to free up the technologies that you want to use. 2, we have the ability to enrich the data. So we can do joins, we can use that technology and easily do some machine learning against that data and maybe give you some alerts more real time. And then finally, and this is where you save a lot of money, is we can remove low value data. So instead of spending money on a bunch of duplicate data that's being sent into a SIEM provider, we can first strip out that low value data, like Windows event log data, and then send it to Splunk. Some of the customers that we've worked with were able to reduce their overall cost by upwards of 80%, just by stripping out value or data that they didn't care about. And then why Confluent? 80% of commits to Kafka come from Confluent employees. Not to mention, the founders of Confluent were the ones that created Kafka. We have over 300,000 plus hours of supporting Kafka at scale. We have 100 plus connectors that can sit in front of these data sources out of the box that can pull this data in without doing really any work at all. And then finally, we are the ones that created and started the event streaming movement, and we're the ones that are coming out with the latest features sooner than anyone else and supporting it. Thanks for listening today. Hope this made sense, and looking forward to talking with you.